In the house. In the flesh, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh my god.
Not unlike Pink Floyd. In the flesh. That's a good joke.
Which one's Pink? That was always my favorite thing about Pink Floyd. It's like, wait, which one's Pink?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Probably Gilmore. He was the best.
Dude. Oh, well, JP, I cannot say enough how excited I am. For the folks that don't know, you've been so kind as to join me on a wonderful musical endeavor.
Yes.
To just go and make absolute mass chaos rhythmically and sonically.
The paramount of sonic savagery. With the Jared Monday project.
Oh my God, Sonic Savagery. Write that down. That's a good band name.
That is a good name. Yeah.
Dude, do you have a list of band names on your phone that you? Like?
Yeah, but most of them are probably slightly perverted, so I wouldn't really use them as much.
Can't be worse than Fistful of Assholes. I remember.
Yeah, that's good, dude. That one's getting it, dude. Yeah. You're pushing the envelope.
I want to say that was from it was from. I saw it in a movie. Like I think it was like Sarah Parker, Jessica, or what is it?
Mm-hmm.
She was in something, and like I don't know, but I just remember that band name stuck with me. Fistful of Assholes.
Yeah.
So it's not a bad one. But
No, it's different, but
so yeah, man. But just like, I mean, there's so many cool stories that you and I have had. You've told me, and I have just absolutely been crying, laughing about.
Yep.
And just the stuff. But for the folks at home, just give us a little like intro. Like, who is Jared Pyle?
I was born in Virginia.
Virginia.
The only one in my family of 9. I have 6 blood sisters and brothers and 3 adopted. And grew up in Greenville, North Carolina. East Carolina University. Pirates stand up. Where you at? And when I was about 17, I moved to Asheville and lived there until about the age of 25 or so, and then I moved around the state. Then I moved to Georgia about 5 or 6 years ago, and I enjoy. I'm married, got kids, and I enjoy playing anything with strings on it. Big fitness fan, like sports, different stuff like that. But big family man, came from a big family.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so funny because you could probably talk about this as much as anybody, but I mean, just musicians in general.
Yes.
I feel like we get this persona of like we're just wild card people, and they're not wrong.
Yeah.
But we have a family band side. We have
yeah. There's I mean, there were years where I was, out on the outer edges of the Oort cloud in the universe, but you find the right balance and you try to bring it back in, because I think good art comes from good experience, because at the heart of being human is new experience. And when an artist or performer of any kind can relay that through his art, through whatever means it came through, good or bad, I think it's a great storytelling device. Yeah,
I've always heard that thing. It's like art needs suffering, and I've struggled with that because I'm genuinely happy most of the time. Like we all have our ups and downs, the breakups and all that stuff. Right. But it's like I've always like hated the idea of a struggling artist in the sense of like doing just like, oh, we need to all live in a van, we need to just play, and I'm like, I get the mentality of it. Yeah. But it's just like there's something like about when you're writing music, the best songs do come from a place that is just raw, but it's also like people don't like happy songs as much as I feel like. True. Yeah, like people want to, like the blues. I grew up a lot of blues and stuff, and just I'm like, man, all these people are sad, and it's like, why? It's like, this is great. It's like, well, that was that guy. His parents were slaves, Jared.
Yeah,
that Muddy Waters. That
Or just volatile times really bring a certain perspective about the world, especially when you're young in life and you have a lot of people have a problem separating the art from the artist. Yeah. You know what I mean? They're like, such and such did this, but their life was bad. But they don't know that pain and art are a fine line. Genius and insanity, like
neighbors.
Yeah, totally. Like, I mean, even Leonardo da Vinci, like he had great paintings, but not everything about his life I enjoyed. So I enjoy the art more so than the artist. Yeah. So, but yeah, a lot of people that come from struggling, they do make good art, but it's not to say that you can't come from great stuff and make good art too.
Yeah, I mean, because like, how did you get started in music? Like, what was that like?
When I was a kid, my grandparents played.
Mm-hmm.
My grandma was a guitar player, and my step granddad was a guitar player, jazz guy, really good. Evidently, he toured with Ernest Tubb or something in the 50s. I think it's legend. We'll see. But they played all around locally and toured and stuff like that. And then from that, my mom, she started singing. And in the 80s, she actually had a song on the country charts.
Really?
She did like TNN. She did like the, what was it, Ralph Emery show. I was young at the time. So.
Do you remember the song name?
Hurt Me One More Time.
Really?
Yeah, it got up to like 99 or something with a bullet next to it. That means it's moving. Look out. It was on the radio, and, you know, for her at the time, it was crazy because she already had 6. She was a stay-at-home mom with 6 kids, and she said one day, hey, I want to be a country singer. But she had been singing, you know, her whole life. And
she wasn't starting from scratch.
No. And her whole family played. They were all in a band. Her sisters and stuff played. And then me and my brother started playing. I got a guitar around about 15, but I didn't really get serious until the summer, about 17.
Yeah.
I had a buddy of mine named John, and we had everything in common, and we were working at Subway, and Jared at Subway.
Yeah.
Man,
God.
I'm caught. But
he ruined the name for us.
yeah, we both like the Detroit Pistons. We were from Greenville, the same hometown. He was about 3 or 4 years older than me. We go back to his place. You play guitar too? I was like, well, I got one, but I haven't. And he played, I think it was Pink Floyd, Wish You Were Here. And I was like, oh, he's like, dude, it's so easy, you can do it. Next thing I know, I got one. My brother started playing, and the rest is history, really.
Yeah. I mean, dude, it's funny because people ask me, it's like, oh, so people assume that just because you're musical, that like your family is all musical.
Mm.
My dad couldn't sing. My mom wasn't really into any kind of music.
Mm-mm.
Like the most musical person besides me was like, I mean, my sisters were in choir, but like my grandfather, I think, like he was in a barbershop quartet in high school or something like that.
Awesome, yeah.
So it was just like,
it's there, but yeah, like for such a big family, only 2 of us got it.
Really?
Yeah, and I don't even know that my kids might not be interested because, it's just something you pick up. If they want to pick it up, I'll put it on them, but I don't want to force it on them. You know what I mean? Like I'll show them if they want because it was just me and my brother, and it was like, at the end of high school, and I didn't really know what I was doing. I was drifting, and I wanted to be a snowboarder. So around about 18, I was snowboarding, right? And a buddy of mine, and in Asheville, and I was getting pretty good, and his name was Sean, and he got in an accident.
Oh.
And just his boots were trapped in his feet while flipping. And I go to his house one time, and he's got a prosthetics magazine. Something had happened to where blood wasn't getting into his feet, and they were dying. They were atrophying. So, like, he had them removed. And at that point, literally that next day, I took my snowboard and my snowboard gear, pawned it for a bass, and I was like, look, I'm going to play music. So me and my brother started a band. I was going to be in that path. I was like, what can I do for a long time that's not going to break me down, and I can do it till I'm dead? And
yeah, I mean, it's funny because, like, I kind of, like, went along that, like, kind of mentality, too, where I was like, like, football was, like, my big thing. Like, I went to Brookwood. I was very fortunate to be part of a state championship team. I got to do, the whole spiel and have a great, fun career in high school football.
That's awesome.
But when I remember, like, did your high school have, like, the senior or the graduating people, like, did they ever come back and, like, talk to the team and stuff?
Yeah, I moved around a bunch. I went to a bunch of high schools. So yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah. But, like, for me, it was like, I remember, like, this guy, Blake, he came back, and I think he had gone to Air Force,
right? And
then hopped around some colleges and stuff. He came back, and I was like, "So, dude, what's it like? I'm a junior. Like, should I be trying?" And he's like, "Jared, if you want to play music, I'm telling you right now, you're not gonna be able to play music and play college football." And not for nothing, I'm not exactly the most academic person, to be fair.
Right.
Shut up, Seabass. Don't say.
Right.
I'm innocent. I didn't say anything.
I didn't say anything.
Yeah.
But it's funny because, like, it's literally, I looked at it because, I mean, all of them had knee braces or arm braces, like I saw this one kid that was younger than me. He had like 3 or 4 knee surgeries. Like he'd literally come back in spring training, get to like this handful of games, and then something would break down on him. And I mean, just I remember my senior year, he was a junior, I'm pretty sure. But he literally was just braces everywhere.
Yeah,
every limb had a brace on it, and I just was like, this isn't. I consider myself lucky to be able to walk away from that.
Yeah, with no injuries, back problems, knees, hips.
Yeah, and I mean, and playing music was so much more fun than anything that I've ever done. So it's just like, why don't I just keep doing that?
Yeah, just a light came on, man. It was just easy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like, it's just like, it was free flowing. I didn't have to work on it. Like, I never took lessons or any stuff like that. Just, you know, I'm a big, like when I was young, I got into like Bob Marley first, but then I ran up on Hendrix, and still to this day, I think, I mean, in 1,000 years, I don't think there will ever be anybody. That's why I wore this shirt, just for like anybody out there watching that, you don't know Hendrix, the coolest, most free player who ever lived. And so I was influenced by him a lot, and I liked him. My brother was into him, and we started doing it was a trio. You know? But as far as like the high school thing, like we moved. I went to like 5 different high schools.
Damn.
First 2 were my normal school, but then we moved to Asheville when I was like 16, and then we were just moving around because we didn't know where we wanted to be.
Yeah.
And so we went to a couple satellite towns, and we went back to Asheville. So like this first, I wasn't a big fan of it. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you spend all your time with all your friends. Your friends, all right, now go sit at the nerd table and start over.
Start
you know
it from new.
Yeah. So,
hey, before I forget, just one of the things, just so we can help sync. Could you look into the camera and just give me a Seabass? Give me one for your camera, and then it's going to help with syncing up stuff. But
okay, cool.
But yeah, sorry.
It's all good.
But yeah, man, yeah. Because I moved in middle school to a different but I went from 6th grade to 8th grade. Yeah, no, from 6th grade, like I moved into a new school system,
right?
And so it was just like all my kids from the cul-de-sac that were like, oh, we're making our big plans, we're gonna go to, and then I just zoop down the road, and I'm like,
Yeah, right. I mean, you could move. I mean, anybody. You could move an hour away, and nobody would know who you were.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a complete start over. I mean,
yeah.
Even like when I wouldn't move that far away. Like even just cross county, but in some of those towns, I'd start half the semester and then be at the other school by the other semester. But
well, yeah, dude. I mean, was it just because of family moving around, or was it because you were just too much of a hellraiser?
We were like, I had a brother above me that was a legend, dude. I'll give you a story, but like I have 4 brothers, right? And none of us played sports, which I tell people, they're like, what are you talking about? Like we were doing different stuff at the time. He had been in and out of prison, and he used to, I'll just give you one little story that's awesome. So like he would, he started like going out and stealing cars, right? At like, dude, like he's like 13, 14. Jesus. You know what I mean? Crazy. And so one night he opens up the window, tells me to come with him, and it's a stolen farmer's truck, right? I'm 2 years younger than him, so I'm probably 11.
Yeah.
You know? And we live out in the country, middle of nowhere, nothing but all these woods and stuff. And we get in the car, we're riding around, and my brother is legitimate. At this time, he's changed now. I mean, age will age the craziness out of you. Yeah. Well, not all of it, but it'll ring enough just to where you can talk to him. But we're riding around, not doing stuff, and he's like, all right, let's go do something now. I was like, all right. He pulls into like a rival or whatever, some dude he didn't like, and 3 o'clock in the morning, and does donuts in a stolen truck in the front yard. And all I remember is just rocks go, I was just smashing the house. What in the heck? Next thing I know, the light flips on. It looked like 10 dudes came out of the house, but it's probably only 2. 2 cars, but probably like 8 dudes.
Yeah.
They're in the car, right? He tears out, roosters out, just flying down the road. 2 cars behind us, Ford Tempo and a 300Z. Back then it was a 300, 350 hadn't been made yet. Yeah. So, but the Tempo, I look in the back and I'm just boom, 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 just like eyes peeled, dude. My brother's just loving it, just driving like a maniac. And I turn and look back and I could see somebody pointing, hitting the top of their car, pointing at us. Holy camole, we are in it now, right? We're flying down the road. Blue lights come on. A cop's there. So 3 cars and a cop's in the back. We come up on a fork. Those took off. The 2 cars took off, and the cop followed us. And we're flying, dude. Ooh. blue lights. My brother Ghost, he kills the lights.
Little ghost flying.
Just blacked it out. No headlights. 80 miles an hour on country roads. But we grew up. We knew where we were, right?
Yeah.
So he slams on brakes. Pulls it over into a tobacco field. But there isn't any tobacco. It's just like it's out of season. They haven't grown it for the season. And there's like what we call whoop-de-doos, just little rows of fields.
Yeah.
And we hit it. Boo-boo, 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 boo-boo. And the cop can't go because it's a cruiser. I think it was a Crown Victoria or something.
Yeah, those aren't going off road.
No, dude. And so we're in this Z71, boo, 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 and the radiator blows. And so we're flying. We get to some woods and we go around the back. We get out. Holy crap! What happened? What happened? We're not done yet. He's like, watch. Around there's not a lot of like creeks and stuff, so they dig irrigation ponds, right? And the water just fills it up.
Yeah.
And so to water the fields. And he's like, all right. He puts a brick on the gas pedal to put it in the pond, and it goes doot doot. It bottoms out. Half of it goes on. We walk home. Took us about an hour and 15 minutes to walk home. The next day, knock, 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 knock. Pitt County Sheriff's Department. Crazy, dude. They came in the house and like they were searching the house. And I remember like one sheriff walking. We had a grand piano, and he was hitting the keys, and it went doing, doing, dut.
Oh no.
Dut. He raises up the back and he's pulling out like radio receivers. Like back in the day they had those Pioneers and stuff. So my early years were wow. And then when we moved to Asheville, my oldest brother had went to college. Yeah. And my crazy brother, they got him and then sent him to jail.
Damn.
And then that's where the plan started.
Yeah.
It was just me and my younger brother.
Yeah.
And I was the man of the house. And I was like, well, dang, that was fun. Now what do you want to do?
Yeah, what next?
Yeah, so we started playing. We started a little group.
Jesus, man. Yeah, I mean,
fun times.
Yeah, and I mean, music definitely will give you like plenty of stories. I mean, I'm sure you got stories too about just like wild gigs and stuff.
Oh my goodness, yes sir.
I mean, dude, there's nothing worse than when you're playing at like a dive bar and all of a sudden a fight breaks out and it's on one of those like stages. It's like it's a pallet. It's just a pallet stage.
Yeah.
It's just literally just you're like it's a stage technically.
I mean, you're off the ground.
You're off the ground.
Yeah, you're a riser, yeah.
But then, like, I mean, dude, there was sometimes like where I'm just sitting there and I'll be playing, and you get into it and you close your eyes, and all of a sudden, there's been so many times I felt the mic. I'll be singing into it, and then just something I'm like, oh my god, and I looked up and just a bunch of these frat boys just like going at it, and I'm just like, please guys, please don't come on the stage, or please don't step onto the pedal board, and it's like that, or like. Man, there's a place that's no longer around in Athens called Whiskey Bent.
Yep.
And, dude, we had some of the best shows there, but it was just always like, I mean, there was one time a cop, like some guys started fighting, and there's cops all over those college towns just waiting for whatever to break out. And I just remember the worst thing was the cop was like, because all the, there's two lanes, one's an in and out, and the door guy there, and it's just packed, and all of a sudden the fight breaks out, so everyone starts trying to get out. Cop's trying to get in, so he tries to jump the gate.
Holy crap.
Dude, the worst part was he tried to do that like, oh, it's so cool, and then those combat boots, I guess, just didn't grip.
Yeah.
And he just whoop. It just busted it. And I mean, like, walkies off, like he's just rolled on the ground. All the other cops are laughing at him as they're like carrying the guy out.
Yeah.
And we're just like, man. Like when you're young like that, it's just exciting and fun.
It's fun, dude. Like having such a crazy like it kind of reverts back to the pain in the art and stuff, and like coming up so crazy like I did, like things that terrify me I want to run towards.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Like I went to like I've only been in Atlanta for like 5 years, and I went to a Northside Tavern.
Ooh,
I'd never been there, right? It
Yeah.
starts at 10 o'clock and it's been there for dude. It was electric. It was just so awesome, and it's just like something like that. I don't know how long it'll be there, but that is a national treasure, dude.
Yeah.
For people to go in, it's almost like 1950s Chitlin circuit. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, dude, it is just amazing. Like the bathroom itself is just this putrid dish of volatile stuff, but it's a part of the thing, And when you go in there, it's not like this super upscale thing. It just has this like
the
energy
grittiness
about it. Yeah. It's almost like the walls are breathing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and like things like that are getting lost when it comes to like nothing wrong with your sports bar dive bars, but they're not. They used to be something else. But I love it. I mean, there's a bunch of places, and I mean, I'm sure that the super nice ones are great too, but that like there's something like you can't even get in the parking lot. It's so small. You can tell it's been there for forever. Dude.
Like the venue itself. Like I remember the old Masquerade was like it was it was the pinnacle of like every band in Atlanta or like in Georgia. It's like we're playing at the Masquerade.
Dude, everybody I've talked to and played of the musician community talks about that place. Even people that didn't play talk about that place.
Because I mean, dude, it was one of those places that survived for a long time. And what was so cool about it is like that feeling. Like I remember they had Heaven, Purgatory, and Hell. Yeah. And like a lot of the promoters, it was one of those things where like you're a high school college band that just started, so you got nobody to like you have no fans and. This is back in like 2009, 10 and stuff. So it's like we're still passing out CDs and stuff. Yeah. SoundCloud wasn't really a thing, and other stuff like that. Streaming wasn't really that big at that time. But like every band would talk about going, and you would have like we would do these showcases, like where it's just like there's 9 bands, everyone's trying to sell tickets. Yep. And the worst part is they'd give you like 200 tickets, and whatever you didn't give back, you had to pay for. Wow. Yeah. And I remember a bass player who shall go unnamed.
Right. Be polite.
Just happened to lose $45 worth of tickets. And I knew that there was a dude man that used to supply herbals to him. Yep. And I knew that it was $45 for an eighth.
I don't know what you're talking about, but I might.
And I just looked at him and was like, are you serious? You serious?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Dude. Yeah.
It was just so funny. But then, like, we'd go to these shows, and, like, basically you'd get there at, like, the show started at 9, maybe the first band would go on. Mm-hmm. And then, you get to choose your spot the day of, which was the most annoying thing. Because you're trying to tell people, oh, yeah, we're playing at the Masquerade. What time? Somewhere between 9 and 2 a.m.
Yeah.
You're going on, you might go on at like 11, 12 at night.
You have a 5-hour block.
Yeah.
You ain't doing nothing.
And you get like an hour, which then the hour gets cut down because you have 15 minutes to set up and then 15 minutes to tear down. Mm-hmm. So you really got like 45 minutes at best. But, you like the music that you and I play together, it's kind of that, good old rock and roll, just not too heavy, not too light. It's got some groove and stuff. So we're playing that. And then the band that would go on before us, there was so many times the bands that would go on before us were just some, for lack of a better term, just some garbage, like metal bands. Yeah. And there's good metal bands. Stuff like you're like, dude, that was insane. Yeah. It's not my cup of tea, but I can respect that.
Yeah, the musicianship's crazy.
And people would just, people would stay for that. Mm-hmm. But then, like, the bands that would go on before us sometimes that were just garbage, cleared it out. Just nothing like a horrible metal band just to do a garbage set to clear a room.
Yeah, or it doesn't just have to be metal.
True.
I've seen just about any genre that's bad, but metal is just really loud, so it hits even a lot harder. But yeah, I know what you're saying, dude. I actually heard some stories about the parking lot of what is it, a Kroger's or
the Murder Kroger?
Murder Kroger. There it is. That's what I heard about, dude.
Yeah, we got Murder Kroger, the Murder Racetrack.
And they remade the Masquerade, and it's here now. But I haven't.
Yeah. So what happened was, like, for those that don't know the Masquerade, it was the pinnacle of like every band's dream of like that nitty gritty like venue. But big bands had come from there. Like Dave Grohl, one time when the Foo Fighters were in town, was telling a story when he was younger. He played at the Masquerade.
Oh, wow, dude. That's cool.
Like, and the story he told was he was standing in that parking lot outside where they have the most janky like equipment lift. Yep. And he's just sitting out there and they're all smoking like or whatever. And somebody throws like a handful of quarters or change at like Dave Grohl, like young Dave Grohl.
Yeah. Nobody knows who he is. Yeah.
But he told the story. He got peppered and just bleeding, and then he's got to go on stage with like just blood pouring out of him, which probably added to the effect. But But I mean, the craziest thing was for us, my personal experience. One time we did a showcase there, and we sold a good amount of tickets to where we could get like in that middle slot. Yeah, no one ever wanted a headline, and no one wanted it open. But like that middle like 10:30 slot where you get the best of like all the crowds coming in, we got that set up, and they, for whatever reason, the sound stuff or something wasn't going right in the hell stage at the bottom, and Purgatory was already booked, had people playing there, but Heaven, for whatever reason, on a Thursday night, not shocking, wasn't, didn't have anybody. Right. So they moved us upstairs. Awesome. Except for the floor.
What was wrong with the floor?
It was wood from like the 1940s. Oh. So when people would start jumping, you could feel like you could feel the bowing.
Oh my goodness!
And then of course the guys' restroom had no stall doors, no nothing, just a plethora of old band stickers and everything. Just, but it was like, dude, like the shows that were really good, they were really good. And the ones that were bad were still kind of good.
Right. Yeah. Old venues like that, dude, they're just, And
I think Joseph Giacopelli, my old drummer, I think, me and him, I think actually were one of the last people to play there. I mean, we're nobody. So, I mean,
when did it close?
I want to say it was around like 2013 or 2014.
Okay, cool.
It was somewhere in that range, but they moved it to a little 5 Points, and it's been doing really well. And I mean, it was definitely a step up. I mean, the hell, they still had hell, purgatory, and heaven, and the heaven stage is so much better.
Okay.
I mean, you don't feel like you're going to fall through the roof or the ceiling or anything, but it's got this awesome catwalk, and it's got the upstairs to balcony and everything. And purgatory is just a great spot too.
That's cool.
But they got people coming and going in there, and I'm just really glad it was worrisome because people are like, oh, it's not going to be the same and stuff, and it's not. But I definitely think it's been an improvement.
Yeah.
But I mean, Seabass, you ever see any of the? You never went to any of those concerts or anything, right? Did you ever go down there?
I went to the old Masquerade a few times.
Yeah.
I haven't been to the new one.
Yeah.
Since the rebuild. And I was going to say that Purgatory's floor bowed too.
Yeah.
Every floor except Hell bowed. That place was coming apart.
Yeah, and the reason Hell didn't fall apart is because it was all concrete.
It was on the bottom. Yeah. Was it an old building or something?
Yeah, I think it was an old.
It was.
Was it an old flour mill or something?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was. It was.
I'm not sure. I think so.
Yeah.
Though.
It was some kind of industrial thing because they had the that janky old just giant wire wrapped around that giant rusty wheel.
Yeah.
But I mean, they even had the back. They had a big area backstage or behind the venue that was like a festival kind of ground. And it was we never got to play there, and the bands and stuff that had it was so good, and I just
that's what I like about Atlanta. It's got I was a big fish in a small pond.
Yeah.
And then I moved out here, not playing like I used to, but trying to get back
into it. Pull the mic just a little bit more up to you.
That's the thing I like about Atlanta. It has that Atlanta Blues Gathering.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They have the blues competition, and it's cool. I haven't been in a blues band in a minute, but I did go to some of those gatherings, and Blind Willie's really cool. That's what I like about Atlanta, where like I was saying, I was a big fish in a small pond in Asheville because it's a small.
Yeah.
Actually, I lived here for 5 years, and I was telling my buddy, oh, man, Asheville's awesome. And we go up there with my buddy, and I look, I'm like, well, okay, maybe I was romanticizing the past here because it's really small. But coming out here, I love all the venues. I mean, it's literally 5,000 bars here. Dude.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just insane,
Yeah, it's so funny, too, because, I mean, with Atlanta, people from outside of Atlanta, the impression I've gotten from them, how they feel about it, is that it's one of those things where it's oh, well, it's rap, hip hop, and I'm like, dude, not
everything,
just everything.
Everything.
We had those showcases. It was literally you had deathcore metal with a jazz blues band, and then it was just it was a showcase, and then a literal sense of a showcase where it's just we want to showcase all different types and give people a stage just to play on, and I mean it's insane, and I mean I couldn't imagine being a venue owner.
Yeah.
Those people are a different animal. Have you ever met anybody that owns a venue?
Actually, it's weird. I've met a couple of musicians that I think play in bigger regional acts, and I think some of them might own. I can't drop names or titles, but I have heard of it. I'm not really sure how true that is, but I mean, I couldn't imagine, this is my spot, and we'll be up there Friday and Saturday, so I'm sure they're doing great.
Yeah. Because, I mean, dude, I get made fun of a lot for my business-minded personality,
right?
As some might call it, and it's just the logistics of alcohol sales. I mean, I would almost if I was going to open a venue, I would definitely have it to where it's majority beer and wine. I would almost shy away from liquor because that always seems to be when the problems come along.
Yeah.
You can,
it's a different animal.
Yeah. Because you can get pretty tipsy and drunk on some wine, but eventually, I feel like wine's that one where it kind of shloop, and then you're ready to go to bed. Some of those broskies on the beers now, especially I mean, good God, like the Carolinas especially, I felt like they were like the brewery capitals. Like breweries just left and right.
Dude.
And I mean, they're awesome, but it is funny because breweries are like, it's like, oh, it's classy to drink a glass of wine every night, but if you have like a Jack and Coke, you're an alcoholic.
Yeah. And usually some of those bros that only have like $30 or $40 on their drink tab, if they do it in beer, you don't have no trouble. If they do it in liquor, you got a completely different bro. Yeah, totally, dude.
But I mean, it's insane. But and then like I do a lot of negotiating for like prices and stuff when we get booked places, and I'm always trying to like, it's like, hey, like we're a really good sounding band, and I can I could show them videos or recordings of us,
right,
and be like, yeah, you're great. But then they always come back with, what's your draw? And that's always the hardest thing, because I mean, and it might be to our detriment that we play so many like. Nico, I think, gave us this term. He's been on the podcast. Check out the Jazz Drum podcast with Nico Lambo. But like he's the one that gave me the term menu venues.
That's great, dude. That's like, great concept.
Yeah, because I mean, like there's a handful of places over. Like, have you ever been to Del Rio?
No, I haven't.
Like, it's
never
a great,
heard that.
Great Mexican restaurant, but you get the idea. Oh, Mexican restaurant, but they have a legit stage and stuff, and it's just like. Okay, like you can actually get away with this.
Yeah.
But the other, like, I played, types of restaurants where it's just like you're eye level with the waitress and stuff.
Yep.
It's not bad, but it's just
gig's a gig, dude.
A gig's a gig.
Yeah. You'll take what you can get. That's the thing about with so many ethnicities here too. Like you'll have like bands at a Mexican restaurant. There's an Asian spot down my. I was like, they have bands and robotic servers. This is the future, dude. We're here.
Oh my god.
So coming like. You'll see things that were different from where I'm from. Like I played I've literally played in a bar connected to a gas station with chicken wire.
Ooh,
you know what I mean?
That's some Blues Brothers right there.
Yeah, like straight up. Like in the backwoods of the mountains of western North Carolina, there are some let's just say shady spots, But it's completely shady in a different way.
Yeah.
The word changes definitions when you come out here, you know what I mean? Because you run into some of these spots, you're like, okay. It's different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just wouldn't see it without being in a city.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like a legit city,
Yeah, I mean, dude, there's like, and it's funny because you talk about like shady, like those is it kind of the shady where it's like, hey, we just want to have our own thing. We don't really want a bunch of people like making a big, like, you don't want your favorite spot to get too popular.
Right.
It's like, we got our thing going, we got our chemistry, but if like everybody starts coming and it's like, hey guys,
Well, out there I guess it's just lack of human population. There ain't a lot of people, you know what I mean? It depends on what you're talking about. I'm just talking about like some of the dirtier small. There's also great places in Nashville to play that I played a lot too, but we were just talking about, the Masquerade and what magic some of those places have. Even like a little like a bar connected to a gas station or whatever. Like that's what builds you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you can perform in front of 2 people, when it comes time for you to perform in front of 70 people, you're going to be a lot better.
Oh,
you know what I mean? So
do you still get nervous when you play?
No, never. I mean, I played so much through my 20s and 30s, dude, that it was just like second nature. You know what I mean? Like, and like, for me and my, like I said, it was me and my brother, and we had a drummer. It was like a little trio, and a lot of it was like original. So like, I didn't have trouble. When you make it up, you don't forget it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You know, when I'm learning stuff, I usually have to write down other people's stuff. But usually, if I make it up, that's pretty easy. So. Yeah. How about you? You don't get butterflies, do you?
I don't. The only time I ever get nervous is the few times we had stand-in people when we played. Like
right. Yeah. You have to rehearse with them.
Like shout out to Jonathan Pace. Guy killed it. Jumped in. Yep. No rehearsal. I sent him the set list. The guy was a professional of professionals. But
awesome.
Coming to that gig, I was like, I don't know. Like, and then
shout out to my boy Kobe
and Kobe
Bryant. Yep. Get him in.
Like those are the times I get nervous. But then like the experiences that I've had with those stand-in players have been, knock on wood, have been exponential compared to what I expected.
And like coming from your point of view, like me, I'm just rhythm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't get nervous in that. But when you're singing and sweating and talking and playing and soloing, I've fronted a couple acts, so I mean I know what it's like. And like pulling somebody in last minute, it's like you got to just fly by the seat of your pants.
Yeah.
Dude. Yeah.
And I mean, and that's kind of the thing too. It's just like you got to take what they give you, and then. It's just like, all right, cool, put it together, and then tie a bow on it, and then send it. Just let it happen. But oh my God, dude, it's just one of those things.
What about your solo gigs? Do you ever get?
The only time I get nervous or like like any kind of like worry is just weddings.
Right.
Just because there's been multiple weddings that I've played at where the bride has requested me to play while she's walking down the aisle.
Right.
And I'm just like, I give them expectations like, hey, strings break, things happen.
Right.
Like as long as you're cool with that, I mean, I'm cool with doing it, but it's just like if we got to walk it back,
do you think it's because I'm guessing at those wedding gigs, do you think it's the more pay would make you more nervous because it's kind of like their special day versus like a regular bar or whatever?
Yeah, that's definitely a huge part of it.
Yeah, I feel that. Yeah,
because I mean, it's like you don't want to mess up someone's wedding.
No.
Yeah. Like one that jumps to mind was I was playing in Albany, and this super sweet couple. They got married at the courthouse, and COVID and stuff happened, and then they're like, "All right, we're going to do the reception." Like it's been like I feel like everyone's able to travel and be safe, the elderly, like parents and grandparents, but she was just like, "Hey, our song," which she gave no like pretense or like any heads up. She's like, "Can you play this song for our first dance?"
Wow.
And it was James Taylor, "How Sweet It Is to Be Loved by You."
Yeah.
And I was just like, all right, I pulled up the chords and I knew just enough of the song to where I could get to like the chorus and like, "It had to stop. And thank you, babe." They're like, "You did so good." I was like, "Thanks." I was sweating bullets.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just like, oh my god, those kind of things make me nervous. Like preparation is the only thing that gets me not to that. Like if I'm well prepared, cool as a cucumber.
All good. Yeah. I feel that way too.
But like, I mean, I've had other gigs too where it's like, the worst is when you know someone's like messing up, and it's not because they're a bad player. It's just because them as a person can't handle the party.
Right.
And I've been guilty of it too, and I have definitely gotten lost in the sauce. You know, like there's a few bars that we play at a lot where I'm just like, I don't think these bartenders know what a shot is.
Yeah.
Like, and I mean, if I was just drinking and having a good time, it's like, yeah, like there's this one place that they pour it like in those shot glasses or like normal like cocktail glasses, but they fill it up to that line. I'm like, this is a double. Like,
yeah, at least. Yeah.
But I mean, shoot, but I've gotten lost in the sauce there a few times, and like just because of those things, and that's why I definitely refrain from getting any liquor or anything like that. But I've had a drummer one time whose kit just fell apart.
On stage?
Yeah. Like
wow.
Mid-set, like I think it was either the spring or something broke on his foot pedal. So he just, for like an entire set, had to just literally go old-fashioned kick drum where he was kicking it.
Oh,
and
wow.
Yeah. I mean, equipment just collapsed on him and stuff. And he was just like, "We should just call it." I'm like, "Bro, we got an entire set left. Like, we can't call it." And I'm always thinking business. Like, we gotta do our job. And it's like, I feel like that does kind of hurt me a little bit in the music aspect because I'm too like, it's just business. It's like, it's art.
Right.
Art and business don't always go together.
Yeah, you're always talking about dealing with the devil when you're talking about putting money in your art, but you got to make a living at doing what you're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I mean, you got to walk that line because nobody wants to do it for free. You know.
Yeah, and I mean, dude, there was a time too where I felt like some of the venue places like we were talking about. There's guys that have full-time jobs and they want to play in a band and stuff on the weekend, which by all means,
weekend warriors. Yeah.
I mean, I did it for a long time. I mean, the aspiration was to get past that, and I'm very grateful that I have. But it's just like, my God, dude, like these guys, you go to contact a venue, and they're like, "Oh, how much do you want?" It's like, well, it's four or five guys in the band. We'd like to at least make X per person. They're like, we usually pay like $150.
Yeah.
And I was like, "You want to pay 5 dudes $150 to come play for 4 hours?" It's like, yeah, Ted from Accountant and his band come and do that for free. Well, yeah, Ted's making $75,000 a year. Like, he's fine.
Yeah, I was gonna move to Nashville, and I went and I was spotting it because Asheville and Nashville ain't that far. I got
like
there.
An hour or so? Or?
That's about 4 hours.
Okay.
But yeah. But like you get to Knoxville after like 2 hours. But like I was scouting out apartments and stuff. But I mean, dude, it is so saturated.
Yeah.
I mean, your garbage man, your barber, everybody's a musician, and they pay to play.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's going out there. You want a little less. That's what I like about Atlanta. It's not so saturated. Like everybody's not trying to do this. I mean, Atlanta's got a really cool scene because it's got the acting thing too, and it's growing. But I tried to go to Nashville, dude, and it was just like, I mean, you could put something together easy, and I mean, I think it's different now. This was like early, like 2010, something like that. But it's just too many going around. You know? And when people pay to play, you know. You could, I mean, some of these people, like I know that like they spend their whole lives in a small town.
Yeah.
Because it takes, you know, in order to make a living, you get all those bookings and stuff. And when I moved, I was playing a bunch. But when you're self-employed and you move to a new town and you're older and you don't go out like you used to, gigs are a little different. You know, I used to just belly up to the bar and, all right, who books it? You know what I mean? Spend $100 and shake hands. And when you leave that, that's why a lot of those old people, I mean, they can make a living where they survive in small towns because it's not saturated to the point of like a major city.
Oh yeah, I mean, dude, and then one of the things, you know, kind of one of the things that led to making a podcast, which there's this guy on the internet, Bacon Bits. Have you heard of him?
I don't think I've heard of that.
He's a content creator that like he's music business, and I mean, he gives super solid advice.
Right.
But I mean, one of the things he made a post right after, I think I might have sent it to Seabass, where it was like, hey, look what this guy just said is like top 3 things cringy local bands do, and he's like, make a podcast. I was like, no.
That's funny, dude. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, dude, it's one of those things where it's just like he talks about like, things that local bands do that's super cringy, and I just started the podcast with Seabass.
Well, you know, being older, kids do have a different, like I came up right when it was starting to hit, you know what I mean? Like I was younger back then, and I think, you know, it's just trying to get yourself noticed. You know what I mean? Like back then it was probably easier because there wasn't. Now everybody has to do it. It's just like it's a part of the vernacular. You know what I mean? Like you have to have SoundCloud, all the social medias, and a podcast, and then just to be considered getting in the door. You know what I mean? It's just self-promotion, dude.
Yeah, and I mean, like one of the other things too that Bacon Bits guy, like I love his name too.
Yeah.
But like he would talk about how, like, you need it. It almost like, you remember how in music videos like MTV and like that was the thing. It's like, oh man, okay, it's like make a great song, make a great album, get picked up by a record label or somebody was like the goal, and then you make a music video, and then you're touring, and like now it's like record companies are expecting you to come to them with 50,000 followers on every platform.
Yeah.
It's like, why? You basically have to start it, and that's the business side of it, where I've started it as a business to where it's like, hey, let's make this brand. Like Jared Monday, like I'm a musician. This is my band. We play this music. And it's like, well, what's your thing? It's like, because just playing good music isn't enough anymore.
Yeah.
Like I'm grateful that we got a smoking hot bass player now. That's, you know.
I keep telling you to grow out the fro.
Dude, I can't.
Do you have curly hair?
What's that?
Excuse me. Do you have curly hair?
It kind of just grows and then grows out, and
that's awesome, dude. We need that.
I keep telling him he won't do it.
It might do it, dude.
Seabass has mentioned, it's like, bro, if you just give it like a year and a half, you'll have like the lush, like flowing hair.
Yeah, dude.
And I'm just a wimp and can't get past the awkward phase.
Yeah, it's tough, dude. I used to have it back in the day, and then my hairline said, all right, we'll see. Enough of that. So, yeah, but while you're young, you should do it. You know, I think everybody should. On a side note, is your name really Seabass, or is that just what you call him?
It's his middle name Seabass.
Oh, okay.
But
awesome.
it's his alter ego persona.
Okay, cool.
When I'm really mad at him, I just call him obscenities.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Pretty much.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah.
That's a great reference.
Yeah, but it's just funny too, because it's like when it comes to like, I mean, even like that, like, you know, if. Like, I think, you know, Seabass, he's talked about doing, like, streaming and gaming and stuff.
Yep.
Like, and he made a really good point where he's like, well, there's so many Joshes out there. I mean, I've had, like, 3 of them in my band at one point.
Right.
But he's like, you don't know that many Seabasses. So you use that. I mean, I'm lucky that I was given the name Monday. And people are like, Monday? I hate Mondays. I'm like, but you remembered me.
Yeah.
You know?
I remember it. Yeah.
It's like, who's that guy that played? He had that really cheesy line, Jared Monday, like your favorite day of the week.
Yeah, that's good, dude. I mean, it's all, you're just trying to get out there. You're just trying to cast a giant net and see what you can catch,
But I mean, like, are you familiar with the Chaperone, that girl that's the pop star?
I have heard. She like dresses up real theatrical and stuff. Yeah, I've heard some of her stuff.
And she made a good she had an interview where she was talking about no, like Chaperone's kind of like an art project. It's not the real me, and it's almost like a defense mechanism of hey, I'm not gonna because people can hate Chaperone, but her name's like Stephanie or something like that. It's just like, oh, they just don't like Chappa or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm Stephanie or whatever her real name is. Yeah. And I'm like, that's kind of smart.
Yeah, a lot of people do that. Like Joe Bonamassa says when he puts the suit and sunglasses on, he's a different person. But when you see him, he's just like, and Beyonce with Sasha Fierce or whatever. I mean, it's kind of easier just to create that persona. I mean, you look at these rappers and stuff, and all they do is, this is who I am. I put tattoos on now. This is who I am. Yeah. You know what I mean? Essentially, that's all it is. You know what I mean? I am this person, and this is my musical whatever, backing or whatever, and then you become that person. You know what I mean? But I do think having the switch to turn it on and off has got to be a lot easier. You know what I mean?
Instead of being on all the time.
Yeah. Just being in character constantly would. But I mean, I see him do it. I mean, if it's weird when you get to a certain level, like those people just like. I heard that Prince didn't want people staring him in the eyes, and he had no concept of time. I don't know if that's true.
Yeah.
But, dude, it's Prince. I mean, he's going to be out there. He's lived as a quadbillionaire his whole life. You know what I mean? They just live a completely different life than normal people. So, when she dresses up like that, I think it's like a breakaway. Yeah. You know what I mean? You have to turn it off. I mean, you can't go dressed up like that. I mean, I've seen she's got some pretty elaborate wardrobe design happening. Yeah.
Well, we were talking about Kiss the other and Sleep Token. Are you familiar with Sleep Token?
Yes.
Like just the anonymity of a Slipknot did that for a while.
Yep.
Where it's like, and I'm like, yeah, I get it, man. Like that, I've heard actors and other super super famous people they can't go down to the Kroger and hang out or. You want to go to a coffee shop with your friend, and it's like, oh my God, hey, so-and-so's here. And it's even worse now. Some rappers or not rappers, streamers, they'll do the live or what? How do they call it? Like the IRL streaming in real life, where they got a hotspot camera going. Is that what it's Vlogging, yeah.
Oh, okay.
But people, was it stream sniping? Is that the right term? Where they come and find them in real life?
Oh, right.
I mean. Yeah, it wasn't originally to find people in real life, but yeah.
But people will start doing that where they got 15,000 people watching them go to an amusement park, and people live there, and they're like, oh, I'm going to go find them. And then I've seen people where they just find them, and then they'll throw a bunch of they'll have a milkshake and just, and it's just guys, what are we doing at this point?
Yeah, I mean, the age of privacy is, I saw this story. I was reading it the other day. This dude watched this girl's podcast or whatever streaming from her house and learned her entire layout.
Jesus.
So you're literally showing people your entire house. He knew where everything was.
Oh, yeah.
She got, bad things happened to her. So, maybe it's just because I'm older and I didn't grow up like the kids now. They just don't know not showing everything online. Yeah. You know what I mean? Even people airing dirty laundry. Yeah. Just leaving. Dude, why would you talk about that?
It's on the internet forever.
Strangers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People that get real mad and argue online. Dude, they are complete and utter strangers.
Yeah.
The anonymity of it is the best part. You know what I mean? Because that's the only way. When you see people talking crap, they won't have a picture, and it's just most of these people have nothing to say. You know what I mean? They're just mindless zombies walking through this earth and just not much to offer. And then they get online and they meet 40 or 50 people with nothing to say, but now we have a voice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you have these keyboard cowboys that are just, it's different, man. Because if the kids
I like that.
I haven't heard keyboard cowboys. I'm that's a good term.
Oh, dude, that's the next album name. You didn't know it, but we'll talk about that one later, Jared. Just the kids today not knowing what it's like to live without it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You knew it for a little while. It started hitting about late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
It was here, even the commercials. And it's it changes things, not in a good way, in a bad way, Super Bowl commercials.
Yeah.
Back in the day, people, if you weren't into the sports, you thought they were, oh my God, the next day at school, everybody's, oh, did you see the crazy Doritos commercial, the crazy Budweiser commercial? But when the internet came out, you see crazy commercials 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Nobody talks about Super Bowl commercials.
Yeah.
And it's meaningless. It's not, it's just advertisement. But what it is that when you get exposed, you know what I mean, your sensitivity is just dropped.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? So kids that are coming up, like my kids, I mean, they're just glued to the thing. But I'm not gonna lie, if I had an iPad at 5, I probably would have been on it for a while. You know what I mean? You know.
And I don't blame them. I mean, I don't have any kids. I would hope to one day, but I mean, everyone wants to give iPad kids a bad name, and it's like, yeah, it's not great, but it's like if you're a mother of 3 kids and you can just put this in front of them. Just
yeah, you definitely. I mean, I don't use them to raise the kids, but you want them to be able to know what's going on because it's the future, dude. Like, there's no way, there ain't no turning back. They ain't gonna pull the switch and we all become Amish or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it's only gonna go forward. Even now, like, I'm searching, you know, typing in my daughter's like, why don't you just use voice search? And I was like, oh, okay. I mean, so archaic. Here we go. You know. So.
Oh yeah. Or like my dad's got the Amazon Fire Stick remote, and I'll be sitting there just trying to like press stuff in, and he's like, you could just, hey, show me XYZ show. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I mean, I feel like I'm part of the last generation that was, all right, go outside and come back when the lights come on, like, or the street lights like turn on. Yeah. And I mean, that was such a unique time because it was the fringe of now kids are tracked. Like, I mean, for good and bad, it's like, hey, if you go in the cul-de-sac. I mean, when I was in elementary school, we had a cul-de-sac of kids around the same age, and or like
play.
It's like, and you know, you go play flag football, and then next thing you know, you're like, you know, sitting there with a juice back and like just hit, you know,
different times,
scraped up knees and all that fun. And nowadays, it's just it's I don't know.
And like the news gets a lot more with the internet and news and television. Like people are more scared. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's probably. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, crimes probably went up, but you seeing it has probably went up by 1,000. You know what I mean? Like, and like, don't get me wrong, I ain't gonna let my kids do things that they shouldn't be doing. But there's something about that innocence of just letting a kid figure out on its own. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's like problem solving, where now kids are a lot sheltered. Yeah. You know what I mean? They need a little. You can't have just all good all your life. Yeah. You know, because that's why they participation trophies or whatever. They show up and it's just like, this ain't how it's gonna be. Well, it ain't gonna be that way. Yeah. So
I mean, the first time you're out riding your bike with your friends and your chain breaks and you're like, oh no, what do I do? Yep. Well, just call your parents to pick you up. Yeah. Like when I was like 11 or 12 and that happens, I hope this hill has got enough so I can get it.
I remember my parents bought me a beeper, a pager. Yeah. It just has a phone number on it. You know what I mean? Like, I hated it. I was like, I'll be back when the show's over. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's just something about that. But times are different, man, and you know, I don't know.
Well, and
hopefully it's better
with the internet too, since you're like self-taught, and you know, it's like I look at musicians nowadays, and you know, I think it was Stuart Copeland, the drummer for the Police. He talked about how drummers, in particular, because that's what he is, like they're starting off where he was leaving off, and his people. Yeah. I mean, you can go and watch Stuart Copeland. You can watch whatever drummer you want, and see they'll put a whole, you know, video together of how they do their craft. And if you're a 13-year-old that loves the band, you can just dive into that. And by the time you're 16, you're playing the stuff that this guy spent his whole life to like get to that level.
And like the ability to just, I mean, I don't even see why anybody would go to music school anymore. I mean, it's all online. I mean, I totally see it. Like when I first started, it was tab, and I'm glad I didn't have all those videos and stuff. I mean, it's good and it's bad. You know, like if you want to be like originality, from the people, the musicians that I like, they're usually like, you know, it's a hard found thing. You know what I mean? They're like solid at basics, like Billy Sheehan, the bass player. You know, he don't know any theory. I mean, he does. Obviously, he knows it, but it like when you don't know all that stuff, you worry about chops a lot. You know. So, but I've seen him play with jazz dudes, and it sounds awesome. He ain't a jazz dude, but the kids coming up now. All the stepping stones that I have are completely laid out. All their videos are out there, you know, like, and when you're first learning, you're more of a sponge, you know what I mean? Like at 18, 19, can't teach an old dog new tricks, you know? So like, just to have that much availability. I heard this dude say there's way too much stuff out there for anybody to suck anymore. You know what I mean? I heard this dude, cause it's almost infinite, you know?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. All the, you know, the starting off points, they have it in a degree to where, I mean, I've seen apps now that it's everything, every scale, every chord, everything, you know, which is awesome. Yeah. But other people's learn, that you can learn it anyway. That's what I loved about Hendrix so much. He's like, it's okay to know theory but not be obsessed with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's like, they were like, how'd you get so good? He's like, I learned the basics and I have a great imagination.
Yeah.
That's what I love about it. You know what I mean? You can just get the basics, and because some of the newer stuff, not hating on it, they're doing their own thing. It gets so technical to a point. The errors are going to be the thing that the computer can't copy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because we're like right now, I've seen robot guitars, and like the players are getting there. You know what I mean? So one thing that like it's going to be your mistakes are what they can't. You know what I mean? Like in a degree of where like you mess up and you find something new, or like you stumble onto something new where so much technicality and just polished. It just has this. There's something like raw about Hendrix, like his recordings. They weren't meant. He didn't think they were going to be put out for live recording, but everybody was just
blown away by
dying for it. You know, and these kids hear it and they're like, "Well, that's not in tune, and he's not very technical.
That's a little out of tune." Yeah,
Dude,
it's he's not singing good.
What he represents. It's his love and freedom of music. It's not his ability or like his. It's not his technical ability per se, which he was fantastic at, and like at his time. It's more about like the message he gave. You're free. There are no rules.
Yeah.
Now go. You know what I mean? That's what I like about it.
Yeah. Take a quick pause.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Like especially like I could talk about Hendrix and Stevie Ray Vaughan as just like the two pinnacles, like the absolute pinnacles of like if you could get to that level of not just like just like as a player, how much like as a musicianship and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But it's like they had that super foundation of just how to play their instrument. Where I think it was Eddie Van Halen's another great one too. He would talk about when he was young and just started playing guitar. He had the little radio in his room, and when he was like, while the other kids were out playing sports and stuff, I was just kind of plucking along to the radio until I figured some stuff out.
Yeah,
and that's who's like nowadays you just pull up a YouTube video of how to play whatever song, and if it's big enough or has a big enough following of the band, somebody out there's put out the tabs or the how-to video.
Oh, totally, dude. And I remember looking at songs 10 years ago, and now they're up there. Like even deep cuts are up there. You know what I mean? But it helps. Hopefully, it facilitates everything and it moves it forward, which is great for all the players and stuff. But
have you seen that the YouTuber guitar guy Marty's Guitars?
Yep, Marty Schwartz.
Yeah, Marty Schwartz.
Yes, I've seen him.
Like, dude has made a career, and it's the just like, hey man, he's a great guitar player, and he's made a living at being a great teacher, and he kind of, in my opinion, just is like he was one of the first real guys to say, hey guys, I'm going to make it to where you tell me what song you want to learn, I'm going to learn it, and I'm going to teach you.
Yeah.
Subscribe, like, follow, and
just ahead of the time, dude. Like if I could go back and see all the things that people are doing now back then, what I mean? He was ahead of the time. And going back to the Stevie and Hendrix thing, I think Clapton said it best. They're like open channels. You know what I mean? And like that influence is pretty much the biggest guitar guy right now he sounds just like Stevie to me, John Mayer.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just that branch. I mean, obviously Mayer did great stuff, and like to have a great career and still be playing blues, in 2024 or 2025, I don't know what he's doing now, but it's great just to still see it, and like it's still that lineage, and people are being influenced by him, and soon it'll be like where people will be talking about Mayer the way that we're talking about Stevie and Hendrix, So it's just when it gets like I said, like there's nothing wrong with getting super technical and like all the crazy stuff that comes along with it and pushing the envelope. But there's something to be said about finding your own way too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you're never going to sound better than. Don't get me wrong, I copied, but you're never going to sound better than that person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what's that band? Greta Van Fleet.
Yeah, the second coming of Led Zeppelin.
Well, I've heard it's the Great Value Led Zeppelin. You know what I mean? It's,
Kirkland brand.
Yeah, they're big, but dude, we have Led Zeppelin records.
Yeah,
you're never gonna do that. You know what I mean? Just the same like, I dig all this stuff, but just it's the thin ice is what you're walking on. Because everybody wants to be innovative and do something new, but we're so late in the game that. What's left? You know what I mean? If you think like what's the last genre of music that was invented that hasn't been copied? I'm thinking it's like away from like electronica and stuff like that. I guess it would have to be reggae, because reggae hit in like the late 70s, rap hit too, but I'm talking about like instrument oriented, like, and then like, you know, you had the Police, all that stuff ran through the 80s. I mean, grunge, it's a movement, but I mean, it's like musically, it's not really, it's more punk-ish. I mean, different bands, like I would call, you know, some of them are hard rock, some of them are, you know, a little more emo. I guess that became a term after a while. But like, as far as like a straight genre, that was, I mean, Clapton hit it. I mean, Bob Marley hit it, and he's kind of like Bruce Lee. He introduced the genre and then killed it. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like Bob Marley came around, he's just this prophet of, and then it died out. Yeah. Bruce Lee came around, did all these movies, and then it died. I mean, it came back, but I mean, and they're still synonymous with it 50 years later.
But you can put your finger down and say, this was the guy that started this.
Yeah. And that's what's cool. I like being able to hear people when they play, and I can hear their influences. But I can hear the twist they put on it. Also, you know what I mean? I don't want to hear, like, they can teach a parrot how to talk. So, you know, like, if you copy it note for note, I get it, dude. It's cool. You sound great, all that. But I want to hear a flair of, like, oh, that kind of sounds like such and such. Yeah. You know, when it comes to players I'm looking for, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's, like, one of the things that's always stuck with me about, like in my head, Stevie, Jimmy, and Eddie Van Halen. Like, when they did something that is so hard to do nowadays, where before they even sing or anything, you hear that guitar coming in, you're like, oh my God, that's Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Oh, totally, dude.
Like, how, like, I mean, as a vocalist too, it's like you try to find, like, Johnny Cash was the one I kind of looked towards. Cause
great, dude, great. We can talk country. Yeah.
And he was just like, I'm not going to try to sing like somebody else. Yeah. Like, he didn't have any.
He's original.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just like, I'm going to do me. Yeah. And I'm not going to try to bend my vocals, or like, I'm not going to try to sing like somebody. Like, he had inspiration, sure, but it's not. It's just uniquely and originally and authentically him.
Yeah, if you look at like the lineage of guitar, you know what I mean? I started about 1950. I mean, you know, you have Django and Robert Johnson, like early, like, but around 1950, you know, you got Chuck Berry. Yeah. He's essentially the Hendrix of the 50s. Yeah. And then like guitar starts growing, it's coming up. You know what I mean? You have the Beatles, the early 60s, all that stuff hits. Then you have this alien named Hendrix that just comes out of nowhere, dude. Like, just out of this world, dude. Just out of this world. And just like, he was way ahead of his time. You fast forward it to late 70s, Van Halen's coming out with just things nobody's even heard about, you know, just notes just bouncing off everywhere. And then the thing about Stevie, which, I mean, he's a great player and all that stuff, a lot of people don't know his time period. It's the heyday of Boy George, Madonna, Michael Jackson, and this dude is reinventing the blues during New Wave. Yeah. That's what's insane about him. His time period was crazy. There's nothing like that. If David Bowie hadn't have seen him at that, David Bowie's the one that got, like, blew him up, and then he played on the Let's Dance record, you know what I mean? Which is pretty much.
Did he really?
Yeah, David Bowie, and he got booed at that show. It's I believe it's the some jazz fest in like '84, and he says, Stevie says, the only time I ever got booed, and I won a Grammy the same year. So, like, it's crazy, dude. But David Bowie was in the crowd. He said, I'd seen the most devastating city rhythm and blues I'd ever seen. You know what I mean? And he said, next record, Let's Dance. If you listen to it, it's Stevie on the record. And then they're like, who is this player? Yeah. But to do things like that, completely out of touch with like, it's kind of like, I guess Brian Setzer did some stuff like that with, like, the swing movement in the late. Like, Brian Setzer hit it big with rockabilly, which is a derivative of rock and roll, early country, and then do it again later on, you know. Staying power. It's crazy, dude. It's hard.
Yeah, there's just so many things that when you look at the history, and it's like, the funny thing about history is that the next generation's got much more to digest. Yep. Like, it's always growing. Yep. But, you know, and Chuck Berry was great, but he also had Marty McFly to kind of show him.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. It's your cousin.
You're going ready for it. I remember the first time I saw that, it's like, y'all aren't ready for that, but your kids are going to love it.
Oh, dude. That's that 80s icon stuff. You just see, there's moments like that. Like, I try to show my daughters, and when you go back and look at it, you know, you got nostalgia glasses on, obviously. She's like, this is so lame. Why are we watching this? I loved it as a kid, though, you know? Like,
yeah. I mean, the nostalgia part of it, I mean, I use that in trying to revamp the set list and stuff for nowadays, because, you know, I'm 30 right now, and the people my age are the ones that are either just starting families, or they've had a family, and now they're at the point where they can start going back out, have date nights and stuff. Or, you know, you're trying to, or if you want to target the market of people that are out and about, that 18 to 25 range, well, what were they listening to in middle school and high school? Because that's like everyone's formative years.
Yep.
And trying to like, and that's one of the things on my booking sites. I have a drop down menu where it's like relative range of age of the crowd.
Yeah.
So if it's a wedding that, it's like an older couple that's getting remarried or second marriage, and it's like everyone's like 35 plus. So I'm like, okay, cool. I know kind of what range or what set list to build. Yeah. But I mean, you listen to some of the stuff, like the 90s for the most part holds up. Some of the hair metal stuff.
Oh, it's cheese metal, dude. I hate all that shit. Dude. I think I'm sorry. I mean, like, dude, like, there's a reason why Nirvana killed it. Like, I just don't get it, dude. Like they would make fun of Christian bands in the 80s, but they're doing the same thing, just talking about the other side.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, it's just so cheap. Like 10 dudes in leather jackets and leather pants.
Doing scissor kicks. And
like, Nirvana killed it, and it was dying to be killed, dude. And that's another thing I was going to ask you. Like, I hold to music that I listened to before I played.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because playing changes who you like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like my years before I played, I find myself going back and listening to that stuff because it gives you like that child's eye view of what you like before it's I don't want to say perverted, but it's definitely changed when you play because you're like, oh, I want to be this guy and I want to sound like this. So like it shapes and molds what you play. So like when you've been playing for a long time, then you go back and like, what was I doing before? You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I'm a big fan of listening to stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I love, like, I was very fortunate to be in this time like where recording became so accessible to everybody. Because I mean, like, 90s, even if we go back to the 90s, like home studios.
Yep, they hit, dude.
Like it was, you had a 4-track and everyone just like, all right, we're gonna place all the guitars over here in this one room and we'll try to level the amps, and that one mic's got to do both guitars or all these things. And I mean, when I got my first record, it was a Fosdex, and it was like I had saved up so much money and like for Christmas, but it was a Fosdex. I think it was an 8-track
tape.
8-track, or it was a
CD.
It was it burnt. It had a CD burner on it.
Oh yeah, that's big time,
like,
dude. Yeah.
I put like birthday, Christmas. Like I wasn't even Jewish. I put my like bar mitzvah money into it.
That's
like
awesome, man.
And then I would get home from school, or I'd go from school to football practice, and then on the weekends it was just all day recording, just messing around and just just figuring it out.
Yeah.
And I mean, I didn't have YouTube to figure it out. I had to go read the manual.
Yeah.
But oh my God, we would crank out. Like I remember one of the funniest things I did was we had it was kind of when physical education started kind of turning into where it wasn't about being physically fit. It was more about like just go and move around.
Yeah.
And I remember they had made a project for PE. For physical education, we had to do a dance routine.
Ooh,
and
that's tough.
There was a girl in the group I was trying to impress, and I was like, well, what if I just write something for us? And she's like, you can do that? I was like, yeah, I can burn a CD, bring it in, we'll put it on the loudspeaker or whatever. And so I recorded something that was like a poppy, it was a rip-off of like 5 or 6 songs mashed together because we had like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
But I recorded it, and I brought it in, and I at the time I was like, I did pretty good.
Yeah, you were digging it.
I bet if I go back and listen, I was like, ugh, this is garbage. But I mean, like that kind of thing where you could record and then go back and listen to stuff from like, like I remember one of my first CDs I ever made, it was at this guy's like legitimate home studio. Like he had the giant like board, had walled off, soundproof, did the whole 9. It was great. But it was just funny because now it's like, okay, like with the mixer I use for our shows, it's like it's got 32 tracks. Like I can do 32 tracks, and I can plug it into my MacBook, and I can record so much. Yeah. And I mean the mixing and the mastering stuff, I'll leave that to the sound engineers like Brad and all those guys in the studio. Yeah. Which check out Under the Attic Studios. Brad, love you, buddy.
Shameless plug.
Yeah. Help my boy out. Yeah. But I mean, like he's just so into that.
Yeah.
And I mean, we did a podcast with him where he talked about, it's like, no, Jared, you have to focus on the music.
Yeah.
I'll focus on the engineering because that's my craft.
Yeah.
And but to be able to go back and listen to stuff and then like try to rewrite or revamp it is insane.
And like talking about producer, these kids, not only do I complain about them, but like, they also have to be their own producer now. You know what I mean? Like, because a lot of them can't afford the studios and stuff in order to get it out there. So not only do you have to bring your crowd, you have to be your own producer and all that stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, I do think that's one thing that, in some ways, kind of hurt music because it became so easy. Like, someone joked when Trump comes back to office, he should put you have to get a license to get podcast equipment.
Right.
Because he's like, too many people are out here just saying crazy things, and we are definitely a part of that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the same thing with recording. Like, you get some people that they love music, and there's nothing wrong with that, but they're just putting out, not great stuff.
Yep.
But, you give them enough time, it could turn into something.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that was the thing in the 90s.
Do you think it has to do with the ability to record, or is it like the MIDI instruments that ruined it?
I think the MIDI definitely played a part of it because you can program stuff. Like the joke was like with MIDI, the guitar player wrote the drummers a drum part. And it's just it's like, dude, I don't have 8 arms. I cannot do this.
Yeah.
But I mean, but to that point, like with the MIDI and all that stuff, like it made it to where you can have somebody send you a MIDI like configuration, loops, all that kind of stuff, to where now you can drag and drop loops and make a whole song in like 10, 15 minutes.
On your phone, dude.
Yeah.
They're just doing it on their phone.
Like
that's why I was bringing it up, is that there's some people that it's maybe not the recording equipment, but they have no music theory at all. No knowledge about it, and they're just using MIDI instruments in order to get by.
It's the rise of the arranger. You know what I mean? Like, they're not really musicians, but they compose.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like all the dudes doing the electronica or whatever you want to call it nowadays, but yeah.
Or have you seen those videos where they'll take like Daft Punk? Like they do, like they're like one of the best samplers out there, but they do it in a way that I have a little more respect for, because like the video I saw, it was they broke down all the samples they did for One More Time, and then and it showed all the songs, and the songs had no genre similarities at all. But they just took it, stretched it, or compressed it, or changed the like, and then it just do. And it's like, okay, but technically it's someone else's music, but you took it and stretched it so far to where it's like so different.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm conflicted. I mean, some of the other hip hop and stuff like that, like they'll just steal songs. I say steal. Sorry, that might be a little aggressive. They borrowed something, and then the good people that do that, there's good ones out there that they give full credit and they pay people for the samples. Like there's a Wu-Tang's got they had their documentary or short series come out, and they made a big point. It's like, yeah, it's their music, but I'm paying them for it, and I was like, respect. That's what you should do. But someone on GarageBand at home just pulling stuff out, or like puts a mic up to a speaker to record something, like I mean, if it catches fire and it's like becomes a big hit, then on the back end it's like, hey man, you got to pay that. Yeah,
royalties and stuff. What's that? There's a Beastie Boys album before all the like the lawsuits from sampling.
Yeah,
I forget what it is, but it's got like, I mean, you couldn't get sued for it, so they were just using everything. I can't think of it. Might be licensed to ill, but I can't think. I mean, it's got Led Zeppelin. I mean, like everybody, all these beats and stuff. But that's it kind of like rolls into a segue to where like how technology is going to change music. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like not only is the ability to arrange it and put it together, but instruments are different now, and I mean, like who knows what AI is going to do to music? You know what I mean? When they just turn loose. I mean, if it does come to that, and like, dude, it'll just be, I mean, it might even not even be recognizable at a point. You know what I mean?
Have you heard any of those AI songs or anything like that?
I mean, like the remakes where they're using somebody's voice to sing something or something.
Well,
like
there's those which are sometimes really good.
Scary, dude. Yeah.
Scary good.
Yeah.
But then they even have ones where the name, I apologize for the name, but it's the song is called "I Glued My Balls to My Butthole Again."
Oh, how'd you do it twice?
They explain it in the song.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but but it's an AI song.
It's just hilarious.
But like the first time I heard it, I just thought it was a goof. Like I just thought it was a funny song where someone was just like being just silly. And then I found out it was an AI song where they just said, "Hey, make a rockabilly kind of like thing," and it's just. But you listen to it and you're like, "Dang, dude, that sounds pretty human."
Yeah, I mean, and like, dude, there's no way. I mean, a computer, dude. How can any human mind? I mean, it'll be different, and like maybe it'll be like, I mean, there's movies about like people fighting against that kind of takeover or whatever. I mean, certain things should be left.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I don't need my MacBook to paint me a picture. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'd rather have somebody
like
like art should be left to and let them solve other stuff. But it ain't gonna be that way. And I think the first marble stone carving out of AI did it, and it's like
a 3D printer kind
yeah,
of thing?
yeah, and they did it out of stone, and they're like, all the stone workers are like, well, that's gone.
That's up.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it, dude. There ain't gonna be many jobs left.
Yeah.
Like all the serving jobs, all the driving jobs, all that stuff is done in less than 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that we have going for us is that for now is the robots can't come out and play the music live.
Right.
It's like you can play it on a speaker, but that's that's a DJ. But then DJ's like, oh, I'll just make a DJ that plays this kind of music, and I can put in the prompts to do this. But I mean, dude, it's
Well, there's gonna be like the first robotic band. Just full like everything. Like, I mean, I want to see a robotic basketball team. It's gonna be anything you can think of. Like the jumps in technology that happened in the last century, like horseback in 1900 to the moon, maybe in 1969. But that's another podcast. But like that jump of technology, right? They say we're gonna have that in this 100 years, every 10 years.
Yeah.
And then like they don't know how fast it'll speed up after that. They're like the jumps in technology. Like once computers, if they can come online, and like be actually sentient beings.
Yeah.
Sky's the limit.
Well, I mean, it's crazy because I mean I've heard stories about people running OnlyFans pages that are just AI girls.
Yeah.
And they're they use ChatGPT to like prompt it.
And the girls are fake. Yeah.
And the girls are fake. It all looks like crazy and like stuff like that. But people are paying monthly to talk to this robot essentially. And I mean, I can only imagine before too long, like you make a band or something like that, and it's just all AI. But you make it's just like, oh no, they never play because they're so like indie. And it's like no, it's because they're digital.
Yeah.
Like one thing that freaked me out. Like, have you ever you and your wife ever gone like shopping for like art to put on the walls and stuff? I was in I want to say it was like a TJ Maxx or like one of the home goods store or something like that, and the pictures that they were selling, like you can tell like this was like 2-3 years ago, but they had pictures that were AI generated pictures, and it's just like, what? Wait, why does this look off? Like there was just something off
about it. Yeah.
Like there was no clear lines. There was more like a fading. Like it was I think it was like a picture of like a bunny rabbit in a field of flowers.
Yeah.
But it was just like I was like, why does this just not look real?
It's not there yet, but like the film, soon we won't be able to trust any footage.
Oh yeah,
it's all gonna be gone. You can't trust any audio footage unless you saw it.
Yeah,
you better not. I mean, and then who knows, dude? Like,
I mean, I've seen those deep fake videos where it's like
scary, dude.
Input, like it was like Barack Obama talking about like the aliens, or like they had one. There's tons of ones about Trump and Biden and all that kind of like stuff. But I mean, like it's coming to the point where it's like if you watch a video on your phone, you got to kind of go, okay, wait a second, was that actually real?
Is that real? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, like. Yeah, I saw what Elon Musk has got those. I mean, they said by the end of this decade, everybody will have a robot in their house. Everybody.
Yeah, I mean,
it started with Roombas. I was like, oh, that ain't gonna be true. But dude, they're there.
I mean, doesn't everyone already with Alexas?
Yeah,
and all that crap.
I was about to say, people didn't think the home computer was going to take off. Like when Macintosh or Windows first became like desktop like computers, people were like, why would anyone want a computer in their home?
Yeah.
And now we got them in our pockets.
I mean, to be fair, the internet and a few other things weren't around.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, when it was just you and your buddy like sending like messages like you got mail.
Yeah. Playing the Tandy 1000, way back in the day. Yeah. I mean, but it's going to come in. There's no stopping it, dude. Once you got open Pandora's box, I mean,
you can't put the genie back in the bottle.
No, I mean, hopefully it's for good, but we'll see what happens because kids coming up now, not like we have problems playing, DJs and such or whatever, karaoke's. They're going to have all that plus robot bands and robot karaoke, and so I mean there's always gonna be something to get in the way. But
I think music and film is gonna be one of the last things to touch, though.
I hope art is left alone, dude. But like,
I think it will, partly because of what you brought up earlier, which is that sometimes it's the mistakes that people are really looking for.
That's what, the to err is human. That error is what we're gonna hold to. But when such perfection, dude, you got a 10-foot metal monster that can do anything.
Yeah.
Anything, and like you think about, like, I saw this guy talking one time, and he talks about, like, the smartest people that ever lived. He put it on like a bell curve, right? The smartest human, I think it was I can't think of his name, but let's just punch some names. Let's say Einstein and Hawking or whatever, right? They're like, this is the upper echelons of human knowledge and where we can get. Like, it don't get much past 200 IQ or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like, dude, they're gonna pass that in the first 10 seconds. You know what I mean? And then that curve, we don't know how far it goes.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
There was these two robots. I forget, it was something with Google or something, and they started talking to each other.
And they made their own language.
And they had to pull it. Yeah.
They started talking in their own language, and they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. I mean, dude, like, I've heard crazy stories about the AIs doing that.
Yeah.
To where there was one, I want to say it was either Facebook or Google or one of those big companies, but they were trying to, like, all right, cool. Like, well, it knew ChatGPT 4 or whatever version was about to come out.
Mm-hmm.
And so it started trying to, like, not sabotage its like self,
not die,
but it's like it was like, I don't want to die. Like, you guys are talking. I know you guys are talking about the next generation, and then you're going to shut me down.
Yeah.
I mean, or like the CAPTCHAs, like when you hey, verify you're not a robot.
Yeah.
There's AIs that they've tested where it figures out that, oh, there's this thing called TaskRabbit. I can just call a TaskRabbit to port like remote into my computer and click it for me.
Yeah.
And then like the one that was scary, it said, like, the person on the phone's like, oh, are you a robot? And it's like no, and it lied. It said, oh no, I just need help because I'm visually impaired.
Wow, dude.
The AI came up with a reason why it would need the TaskRabbit to help it log into this thing.
Yeah. Some people say it's the future. Like, humans really can't travel in space, but robots can. Yeah. So, like, the future of space travel could just be like it might not be us on Mars. You know what I mean? Because it's really hard, dude. Like, even like, what is it? I think it's like 6 to 8 months to get to Mars right now. They're going to do it, like, Elon still says by 2030 the first human will be born. Well, not might be born, but that's like 2038 or something. But, like, he will be put up there, and I don't believe it. I just think they might be the next step in evolution, but just because, like, they can't die and, like, they can travel and go wherever they want to. I mean, imagine a satellite, but it's completely AI. You know, it is autonomous all to itself.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's insane to think that, like, the Neuralink stuff, like, the idea of downloading your consciousness, and so essentially you're, for lack of a better term, immortal.
Yep.
Like, as long as you have power and stuff like that, you can
another body. They still you in another body.
You just
upload your consciousness. Yeah.
And you just zoop, 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 and then you're 1,000 years old, and you're just. It's terrifying to think of where it would go, and I mean, it's almost going to be like the trendy thing is to be organic in the new sense of like, no, I'm organic. I don't have any chips.
I'm Mecca. That's just it's going to be organic and Mecca, because I mean that's the next step. Right now we've reached the limits of what we can do physically.
Yeah,
everybody's got tattoos and piercings and cutting stuff off and saying they're this and that. Wait until they mesh with machines.
Yeah.
And then nobody will say, like, like they have the first bionic eye. I think it just got put in.
Yeah. I mean, the Neuralink one, there was a guy that, did you hear about the guy that had he basically, like, you play games much or?
Yeah.
It's like, so he was completely, like, disabled, like quadriplegic, neck down, couldn't move. Gets the Neuralink put in, and then his eye and everything. So he's playing, like, first shooter games like Modern Warfare, Halo. And people are like, you're a bot, dude. You're hacking. And he has. I look and I think shoot. The game does it.
Oh.
There's no waiting for it to go to his hands to click a button. It's just boop, 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 boop. Like, yeah. People think he's cheating, but he's like, dude, if you saw how I was playing this game, like, he's just sitting there,
crazy, dude,
just racking up scores.
That's crazy. I think once the controller's taken away, I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm getting out. I'm too old. Like, I came up, I remember when the first NES dropped and, like, first Mario, dude. Yeah. So, like, once I lose that, I mean, that's why I'm not a big fan of, like, the VR. I think they need to come up with just, like, contact or just, like, glasses.
Yeah.
But it's too big, too bulky. But
yeah. Well, the VR, like, so did you ever play Fortnite or anything?
Yeah.
So did you remember when they had the concert in Fortnite with, like,
Yep.
They still do them.
They still do them?
Yeah.
Every season.
Who was the last one? Do you remember?
It was Snoop and what was that? It was a rapper who died.
X something.
I think Extension or something like XXX or something. Something like that.
But thinking about that, like how many, like you imagine, like you could either pay like let's say like a concert tickets now, let's pretend they're $75 to go to like a Fox theater. Like I know that's not true, but
yeah,
let's just pretend it's like, all right, in-person tickets are 75, virtual is like you just sign on for like $15-20.
Yeah, it's just part of the service.
And they just have that one camera that's like in the middle of the like the venue, and so you can kind of like you can virtually be there. And like, I mean, it's just like a live stream. I mean, some, like, I know, like, I've worked with churches where they do live streams to YouTube and all that stuff, but people like that are on missions or whatever, they can still tune into their home church.
Right.
But that concept of like VR, you can virtually, like, why would you ever go to a concert?
I mean, I think everybody's just gonna be living in their house. Well, and we're running out of space. Well, I mean, not really, but like, you know, that's, you see all these, like, I like sci-fi movies and stuff, like this dystopian future or whatever, where it's just everybody's living and they're all linked up or something. I mean, I don't know. I think that's why it scares people mostly. It ain't really the fact that that they're bad or good in like a moral sense. It's more of that they can overthrow us.
Yeah.
And that's what scares everybody. You know what I mean? There's great movies. There's a movie called Chappie, and it's all this director, he just writes about like aliens and AI. He does like sci-fi stuff, but it's like in the future, and like the pushback. Like I think right now, I even read somewhere that truckers are blocking
those autonomous vehicles
from being able to charge, because I mean, dude, what do you do? They said that they're going to have to give him. I've read a lot of different stuffs about like when they take over all work, we're going to be like at a continuous Burning Man. Humans don't have to work.
It's all pleasure.
We don't have to do nothing. Yeah. I mean, almost to a point. But then I've also seen where it's the biggest gap ever. You know, it creates the biggest wealth gap we've ever seen, because
the people that own it and then the people that consume it.
Exactly. Dude.
So
like, there's a movie called Elysium where all the rich people have gotten off the earth. I think Matt Damon's in it.
Yeah, they're on that like Sky City or whatever.
They're all trying to get there, and he's dying. Where you know, like some of the things like they wrote about going to the moon. If we did. You know, Jules Verne did it 100 years before we went to the moon. Saved us like 20,000 leagues. So science fiction is like, it kind of predicts the future of science.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's why I like keeping an eye on it. Oh, yeah. All right, we're breaking.
Do a quick reset. Okay. But, I mean, dude, there is definitely a huge fear, I think, for most people, because it's like, what do we do? I mean, the population is still growing. More jobs are becoming less available. And then the amount of disparage, like the gap, like you're talking about, between like people that have money and don't.
We're going to have to do a universal income.
Yeah.
Those people they're going to be old without the ability to get new skills in a landscape where, I mean, you either got to feed them, or, I mean, I don't know what else they would do, because, you know, it might just become like this crazy ruling class that like we've never seen before, or it could be a utopia where nobody works and everybody just makes art or whatever humans want to do without work.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, what are they going to pursue? Physical, like they're going to be physical beings and try to just go and be like super jacked.
That remember that cartoon Wall-E?
Yeah,
where all the people are super fat. They don't even walk.
Yeah, they're just on the chairs.
Yeah. That's another grim future. Yeah, you just got everything. You don't need nothing. You don't have. I mean, I don't know where we'll go, but we'll see.
But on a different note,
right?
So like, for you personally as a musician, one of the things I always like I've had like the conversation with everybody in the bands and stuff. It's like what are your, like, how have your music goals changed over time?
Oh, as I got older?
Yeah.
When I was younger, I played a lot, dude, like with me and my brother from like 20 to about 35. We and him were just couldn't be joined at the hip, you know what I mean? Like, Siamese twins. And around that time, I was getting a little more serious about what I wanted to do after. Not after, but like me and my wife, I was with her, but we weren't married. We were talking about the future and doing stuff like that. So when she went to school and graduated, and she was like, look, we're going to move down here to Atlanta and get more serious. This was like around 2019 or whatever. So starting out, you know, you want to conquer the world. You want to talk to God. You know what I mean? You want to converse with the gods and be whatever. But you know, I toured around. We blew up. I mean, you know, did some festivals. I did the festival scene pretty early, and I was like digging it. It was all that. Toured up and down southeast. Went out west and played some. And around about 30 to 30 some, you know, like I don't want to stay in a van and eat Cheetos and bologna out of my hand. You know what I mean? So
we want to play at the Hampton Inn.
Exactly, dude. You want to keep it going up. So the traveling thing, kind of like the touring thing. I was like, I knew I was done with touring. I don't want to tour anymore. And I was like, okay, it's cool. I can go to Atlanta and stay close to somewhere that's got a ton of venues to still play. So I guess other than having kids, but before I had kids, it was like, yeah, I don't want to tour anymore. You know what I mean? It's just it's a lot. And then me and my brother, he kind of wanted to get out of playing. He don't really play much anymore. I mean, I think he still does, but he stayed in the mountains, and he's got a great job, and he's doing something different. So
yeah, I mean, and I think touring has definitely changed as an industry.
Yeah, and I don't think you have to as much as like grinding like that. I mean, you do if you're like selling out like regional spots.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But people like going to like driving across the country to play a local blues sports bar that you got in your town. I mean, that ain't gonna do that. But if you've got a good following, I think with the internet you can pretty much do what a tour would do in the early 2000s, just online. Yeah,
like there's a ton of like TikTok, even though it's not really a thing anymore or whatever. Like it did a lot for a lot of musicians because people would like take that sound bite and use it in a funny video, and then people are like, oh, what's that song? And they'd find this, like, there's a Spotify playlist about TikTok songs.
Yeah.
So it's just like whatever song, and I mean it's crazy because like we were talking about earlier, like the staying power, like or lasting ability of people. It's like, okay, you went from like a couple thousand followers and people subscribe to your page, then something takes off, something goes viral, everyone starts using your sound, and then you blow up, and then it's like, okay, I'm not prepared to I'm not prepared to go at like 1,000 RPMs over like this is way over my capacity, my bandwidth.
I heard Jelly Roll talking about that. He said like you have these people that get booking agents to something that blows up online, and they're like, all right, let's start at like the local regional, couple hundred people club, and then we'll do that for like 8 months, and then we'll hit you the next one. He says he sees these kids that are blowing up and don't really have much stage experience. They blew up in their room.
Yeah.
And they get somebody's like, all right, let's go to the top. And they'll book them at 5,000 people, 1,500 to 2,000, and they just don't know what they're doing. You know what I mean? And like the realness of the situation kind of crashes down on them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because there's a difference between playing music on stage and playing in your bedroom.
Yeah. I mean, even the folks that like they make a great song or it blows up and it's like they got a good EP or so they got a good bunch of songs out, and but like you said, they're either just in their home studio or their bedroom.
Yeah.
But if you go to a 5,000 person theater and you've never used in-ear monitors before, or you're not used to like if you're just gonna like the fact that like it blows my mind that Ed Sheeran did as well as he did, because he would just stand on stage, and as talented as he is, like he would just do all the loops and stuff, but he would just stay standing still. And then like we were talking about, could you imagine like some of the venues that we play, like it's a 250, 300 person bar, let's say, or like something like that, like a dive bar. Back in the 80s, imagine walking into, like for around here, love you guys at Will Henry's, but like a Will Henry's, like imagine like an 80s hair band coming in there that's just started, where they got the big hair, that they're just doing scissor kicks on a little stage and stuff. I mean, that's that was the reality back then.
Yeah.
But I mean, like to like the TikToker point and stuff, like if you're not ready to like jump on a 5,000 person theater tour, and or even worse, you don't have a follow up.
Yeah, and like usually, like back in the day when I would meet players, there's like usually two kinds. I mean, there's also hybrids, but like usually people that play live really well and people that are studio cats.
Oh,
you know what I mean? And like that, playing in your bedroom is kind of along the lines of the studio cat. You know what I mean? You're good at click tracks and you don't get nervous. Like me, I play live. Like in the studio, I still get nervous. Like when you ask me if I get nervous, not playing live. There's two kind of like in the studio. Oh, this is gonna last forever. All right, and how many bars is it? All right, how many takes do I get? You know what I mean? So
you missed your cue.
Yeah. So like you have these studio, quote unquote, studio cats that blow up, and then they try to go and do the live thing, which is a little different. I mean, I'm sure they work on it and doing stuff like that. But I saw this awesome interview with Jelly Roll, and he was like he chose not to jump right onto the big spots. You know what I mean? He grinded a little bit in more of the regional, and then went to more like the national spots.
Oh yeah, and I mean, to his point, I think that's the way to go. I mean, I know some folks that they have very wealthy families. They're very loving families, and their parents are willing to dump thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars into talent agents, people to make them. And I remember I went and talked with a guy up in Franklin, Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
He was part of the Dark Horse Institute. I knew some folks over there,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, I got a wonderful opportunity with my old band Trombley Bay to go up there and play for their institute, the Dark
Awesome.
Horse Institute. Great place, awesome people, had a great time. We just were not prepared. We thought we were rock stars, and we did not capitalize on this opportunity.
Oh wow!
Yeah, just we went downtown, we went and saw all the bands, and then like we were out till 3 a.m. getting kicked out of bars, and then I get woken up by my friend up there that was like, "Hey, you're supposed to be at the studio in 15 minutes."
Oof.
And by the grace of God, like Seabass has seen me do it before, where I went out and had a bender, but I got to come record, and he's like, when the camera was on, Jared, you really pulled it together, and then as soon as it was off, just
fall all out. Yeah.
Laying on the floor.
It's weird how circumstances, like sometimes you'll play your best gigs, like if you're sick, or like you don't think it's gonna be good in your head, it's not gonna be good. Like, oh, this is gonna suck, or like hungover or something.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's weird how that works.
Yeah, but one of the things I remember asking him about was just like, dude, like if you were gonna give me the God honest truth, like not to disencourage me, but you just wanted to be brutally honest, like what is it gonna take for a band like us to make it? He's like, dude, to be honest, like if you're looking to be superstar, like you're already 15 years, and I was like 23 or something at the time. He's like, you're already 15 years late. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, there's people out there that they are 4 years old. They're getting dance lessons. They're getting acting lessons. They're learning piano. They're learning how to sing. And they're this like Swiss Army knife of talents. And so they like Christina Carpenter, the 5 foot dime. Like she is gorgeous and talented and all that stuff. But I mean, she was a Disney kid. She did a bunch of acting stuff. She is obviously very talented and has great writing abilities. Taylor Swift, it's like obviously we could talk about the business that she is.
Yeah.
But I mean, like one of the things he said is like the next Taylor Swift probably isn't even born yet. Yeah. Because she's still on her she's on her era, no pun intended with her Eras tour.
Yeah.
But like he was just like, dude, like the amount of stuff for the industry nowadays to make it. Like, you have to be so devoted from such a young age. It's like these Olympic athletes.
Yeah.
Like, the Chinese, like, gymnastics kid that's been doing gymnastics, like, basically they popped out and then they threw him on a high beam and just said, do it. Like, that's, like, now what it takes to get to that level. And, like, with the touring and stuff, my goal personally with us is, I want us to have a great time and play and make stuff that we love and enjoy. And then if we can make a following or get if the problem that I get with booking us out of state is why would we book you? But if we have 50,000 followers on whatever platform, just the fact that we'll show up and play to an empty room, but they're paying not for us to bring a bunch of people there, but for the promotion. It's like we played at so and so, in Nashville or in North Carolina, we played it, and like 50, 100,000 people saw that place, that brewery, that venue. Then people are like, oh, we should go check out when bands are there.
Yeah.
You're almost paying, venues are now almost paying for the promotion of that sense.
Yep.
But to that point with the touring, I think that makes it to where it's more viable because I'm very conscious of my buddy Ethan, he's getting married, Brett's getting married, Nico's having his second kid, you got your kids. I'm hopefully going to find somebody that's willing to settle up with this, this crazy music cowboy that I am.
Yeah.
But it makes it more viable to when it's like, hey, the only time we're leaving to go out of state is because they're paying for our flight, the hotel, like everything's covered, and they want us to come out there.
Yeah.
And then we'll just gig around Atlanta and the Southeast or stuff that's like a day trip or a weekender.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
I mean, that's my personal goals. Just so you know, what you're getting into.
I don't mean like that. I mean like in the back of a van without.
No. Yeah,
it's a different thing when you're 20, dude. Yeah.
It's cool to be with your boys from high school or whatever from your neighborhood, and you're just like making it. You're living off of Fritos and Taco Bell. Like literally just divvying up the tip jar, and everyone just use it to either buy herbal substances or Taco Bell or both. Yeah. But I mean,
just to survive to get to the next town.
Yeah. And I mean, like one of the things I've talked about before, my old drummer Joseph, like he was super talented drummer. Things kind of fell off. He wanted to pursue family and other stuff, and he's still great. But the thing that it's so funny because he was shoeless, had no phone, no bank account, but just an insanely talented drummer. Right. And when I was about to buy my first house, he's like, we should all move in with you, Jared. And I'm like, what are you talking about? What are you
That's a
talking
little
about?
too close to home.
And I was like, are you going to pay rent? It's like, I mean, yeah, we'll figure out something on that. But looking back, it's like that's almost what it takes. It's like everyone in the band go get a part-time job. If we could find an apartment that we can all live in and be in it, devoted to it 24/7.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about it the other day. Like, you almost have to approach it like you're going for a doctorate. The amount of time, money, and devotion, like, you're going to put in 12, 16-hour days of recording, practicing.
Easy, dude.
And it's like, and then maybe in 6 to 8 years, you might have
you
might have something there.
Yeah.
But
that's why you got to truly love it, dude. Like, rock stars come and go, but musicians make music their whole life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
my idea of making it was just not having to work a regular job.
Yeah.
You know, and for a long time I didn't have to do that. I mean, I still don't, but like back then I relied on it extensively. But I mean, if you love it, like, you don't question it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they're like, And another thing, I met I don't need to name drop, but Marcus King.
Yeah.
He used to come and play. I met him when he was like 15, dude. I just knew he was, but, I mean, he was really good and talented, but he's 4th generation. His granddad tried, didn't make it. His granddad tried, didn't make it. His dad, Marvin King, tried and didn't make it. 4 generations deep, he made it.
Dang.
So, like, he'll have, like, I went to, like, he had, like, a family, I think, Greenville, South Carolina, or maybe Spartanburg. I forget where exactly. But we went down, his dad was playing, and you could just see in his dad's eyes, because I was older and seeing, like, his kids just blowing up. You know what I mean? Because he's everywhere now. I mean, and I'm just like, wow. So if you don't get it in a lifetime, it might be a generational thing, because that's how I saw it with him. I was like, your dad's dad played? Whoa, dude, that's crazy. But
I mean, like, that's kind of the thing. It's like the amount of, like, wisdom and like the
lifetime's worth.
The lifetime of knowledge that you could pull from generations. And I mean, it's kind of like those family businesses where, Grandpappy started Grandpappy Walton in Arkansas made a little store where everything was on the walls, and then the next generation expanded, and the next thing you know, we got the evil empire that we know as Walmart.
Yeah, totally, dude. And like the fact that he has, it's not only is it musical families, but it's fathers or mothers, whatever. It doesn't matter. They put emphasis on playing a whole bunch. You know what I'm saying? Where like most families aren't that way.
Yeah.
Like my parents. I mean, my mom cared about playing with my dad. Get a real job. What are you doing? You're wasting your time. You know what I mean? So like to have that look, like this is it. This is our focal point of the King family or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just you're just more built to head in that direction. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, whereas me, I was just this little stoner kid that kind of like stumbled upon it. You know what I mean? And then like, oh, you're trying to make money at this? Yeah. So
well, and kind of like wrapping. How much time was on this last one, Josh? How much time we got?
Got another 12,
Perfect.
13 minutes.
Well, just to like wrap up, one of the things that I also have noticed in the younger generations is a lot of them are straight edge.
yes.
I mean, like the younger generations, like they're not falling into those crutches, like sex, drugs, and rock and roll. They'll do two out of three.
Well,
Yeah.
I have like anybody who doesn't think that drugs help creative processes and juices, go listen to the Beatles.
Dude,
you have this 3-chord country farm tunes of just I Want to Hold Your Hand. They meet Bob Dylan. They do a couple of psychedelics. Next thing you know, we have the White Album. We have these things that are going to last till the end of time. And I'm not saying that's why I don't like today's music, but I mean, not all of it. Don't get me wrong. People still do it, and you can tell. And there are sober people that can do it too. But art is a performance-enhancing. I mean, drugs are a performance-enhancing drug for art. I'm sorry.
Dude, there's been so many. I mean, like, I remember there's been plenty of times, I mean, there's, and it's funny, like, there's that group of like musicians and the younger generations that most of them, the main thing now that they're shying away from is alcohol.
Right.
A lot of them still are all down for marijuana, psychedelics. Like, I definitely encourage. I joke around. I say I've done enough mushrooms to know that I don't have that big of an ego anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not offended when people say something could be different. I'm like, oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, but with like mushrooms, it ain't something you abuse.
Yeah.
It's not weed. It's not beer. It's not an everyday thing. If you get right, you're good for a long time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, even when I dropped acid and stuff, like, that was an experience. Like, and I mean, to write about that experience is a huge thing, but it's like my biggest hang up is like alcohol seems to be the one drug that's not the performance enhancer.
Yeah.
Like you smoke
It's
a
the
little
most
weed.
fun.
It's the most fun you can have in a
Social
garage.
lubricant. Yeah, dude.
Like people say garage beers taste different.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it's like you something goes good, have a beer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Let's celebrate a birthday, New Year's.
Your team's winning. Your team's losing.
Thanksgiving. Nothing else like it. It's probably the most fun, but it's probably the most destructive.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Like, and I always joke around. It's like I never blacked out on weed. I never made. I've made some ridiculous DoorDash orders on weed.
Yeah. I eat a lot of cookie dough. Yeah, totally. I mean, I think as long as it's used in the right, country music has been served by alcohol very well.
Yes.
And like I think a steel guitar, I think country sounds like alcohol.
Yeah.
Like reggae sounds like
weed.
You're smoking. Yeah. Certain things have that feel. Like blues has an alcohol feel to it to a point. Country nailed it.
Yeah.
I think a steel guitar is the wavering of a drunk. You know what I mean, dude? And all the songs about drinking, I mean, it's helped that genre, you know what I mean? And, I mean, all those hard rock bands in the 80s and 90s, the cheese bands, and even like the Metallica, they were all drunks. You know what I mean? Like, it helps. And it also goes along the lines of that pain being a great teacher for art.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they don't feel that way, but when they become something like a drunk or something, like John Frusciante.
Yeah.
He's got these albums in the early 90s where he is just on the verge of death.
Yeah.
I mean, and some German, it's on YouTube, and they go and interview him.
And he's all strung out
making
and
these albums, dude.
Yeah.
The guitar's not tuned. The songs are crazy good. They're really dissonant and hard to listen to.
Yeah.
But this dude's in a frame of mind that you ain't going to get on in this planet without that drug.
Yeah.
So, if you want this outcome, sometimes it does help. But, it's probably done a lot more damage than it does. Because a lot of people die, like, I mean, I get on that too. Like, I didn't want to see my boy Jimmy at a, fucking Super Bowl halftime duet with Elton John at 60 years old, dude.
Could you imagine Jimi Hendrix playing a Super Bowl?
I wouldn't want to.
Yeah.
Fuck that. Like
let
it's just him die.
Like
let him die.
Or like you find out like Steve Ray Vaughan's like a super hardcore liberal, or like
I mean, I just don't like this idea of they all have to be squeaky clean and like just listen to the art, bro.
Yeah.
Get off of who the person is. Like, I don't know. Like everybody's Elvis died, not Elvis, not Elvis. Elvis died, not Elvis. Give me 10 Elvis years, dude. I'm done.
Yeah.
Just give me 10. Like, don't cry for Prince. Don't cry for Elvis. They had great lives.
They lived exactly how they wanted
and they're
to.
like, it's so tragic. Their art will survive till mankind ends. You know what I mean? Art is the only thing that transcends death.
Hey.
That we know of. You know what I mean? Like, our souls go on, but like, what we leave here, like, for those things, it's important. And when you leave that mark, like, Hendrix died, and he was a druggie, and he died, but it doesn't matter. Go listen to the records.
It's like, I'm still going to turn it up. I'm going to turn it up and roll the windows down. And
like anybody, I challenge any human ever to pick up a guitar and record things. First album to come out like that at 26. He was 24 on his first album. Come out with something better than Are You Experienced? And I mean, I think to this day, when I've been to all these like guitar gatherings and all this stuff, like G3, Satriani, it's Vi, I saw Petrucci. They're all playing Hendrix songs. And everybody hates on him because he's always number one on Rolling Stones. Oh, he ain't the best. There's other players. It ain't just the playing.
Yeah.
There's something else going on. It's how cool he was. It was his love of it. It was the freedom that he offered us.
Yeah.
During the era of probably one of the best eras of music, like that late 60s going into 70s, because 80s it kind of
got a little squirrely.
Yeah, like it started getting more visually represented.
Well, it's like, how many bands can we have where you got a big-haired front man, a crazy wild guitarist, the drummers, like, it's like
a wild man,
copy paste, paste,
and it just got, and then the songs ain't good.
Yeah.
The thing about, they all were like copying the Led Zeppelin's got good shit, dude. Like Motley Crue, there are some good tunes. Don't get me wrong. I don't hate all of them.
Yeah.
But when like
there's nuggets in there.
We don't need 50 freaking.
We don't need
wingers.
50. Yeah, we
don't.
You
know what I mean? Like, dude.
Like how many bands like Whitesnake were out there?
We don't. And like, there's this dude who just died, and like all these dudes I was following in, I didn't even know who he was. But now that he died, and I didn't know who he was. I looked him up, and he played for like Zion, all these dudes were liking him online. And I was like, who is this guy? He's fucking awesome. He was great, but I couldn't get past the hair, the spandex, and the running around. Like even as a kid, I was like, this ain't cool.
This ain't what I'm looking for.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I dug Van Halen. Everybody did because it was pushing the envelope.
But they still had that grittiness, even though
they were a fun band. But like then when everybody starts wearing neon colors and lipstick, and I mean. Nothing wrong with that, but when everybody sounds like that, everybody looks like that, it becomes, and that's the thing. Like as a transition into Nirvana, like that's when I was saying I like listening to stuff. I was 16 when Nirvana hit,
nice,
and like, dude, like, imagine it'll never happen again. Imagine people like say, "Oh, he sucks. He wasn't that good." You have to be in context. You have to live through it. Like, imagine a little twerpy, dirty white dude coming out of a garage, a trio. Really loud, garage era, and having a #1 over Beyonce and Taylor Swift. That's essentially what happened.
Yeah.
Michael Jackson, Madonna, and Garth Brooks were 2, 3, and 4 behind Smells Like Teen Spirit.
Yeah.
Somebody do that again in this lifetime.
Yeah.
Don't worry about his material and all that. Do that movement. That's the thing I say about Hendrix. It's more than just everybody gets caught up. Oh well, he's a better player and he ain't that technical. He don't know all this. It don't matter. Create the movement.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like, you can talk to me when you can do what he does.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'll get online and these people are just bad mouthing Kurt Cobain about not being a good guitar player. He's not a great singer. I was like, do what he did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, I think his material is great, but do what his band did.
Yeah.
A shitty little garage trio be the biggest act in the world for 3 albums or maybe 2. I forget. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, dude. I mean, and kind of to wrap it up there, it's like that's the challenge nowadays is to make that next movement.
Yeah.
And it's like I don't know what it could be or what it's going to be for us. Like obviously, I have big aspirations for us. I want us to, like, I want your wife to be like, "What did Jared book you to do? Well, you're playing where? Oh my God." You said what on the podcast?
Yeah, dude, I love playing it. It's awesome. I'm super stoked about playing it. Whatever it becomes, I just like playing it.
Not trying to take it too seriously, man. But any last words or final thoughts before we wrap up the podcast? Or
never play cards with a guy whose first name is after a city.
Solid advice.
That's a Teen Wolf, 1986. Let's go.
Love it, man. Yeah. Well, Jared, thank you so much, bro.
Thank you, dude. Thank you. Come and see us at shows. You'll like it. We're crazier in life.
Yeah, we're crazy in real life.
Yeah.
But thank y'all for being here. Hope y'all enjoyed this episode. We'll definitely have some more band folks and everything going on. And like we say here, stay strange.
Heard that.
Heard that.